Hey there, another edition of Birds Weekly is locked and loaded. It is brought to you by the Inside the Birds Network. For my man, Ray Didinger, I'm Derrick Gunn. And Ray, that was Monday night was interesting to say the least. It was nothing like I don't think anybody expected when you talk about two offenses that can put points on the boards, two quarterbacks that were completing over 70% of their passes. And it was a sloppy first half. It was an inconsistent first half. It was a 0-0 first half, Ray. It's been a long time since I've seen a 0-0 first half.
Yeah, it was. But, I kind of found myself agreeing with what Joe Buck said, which at halftime, where he said, normally you see 0-0 and you think that it hasn't been a very interesting game. But we have a 0-0 game here, and I find it very compelling. And I did too. I'm a guy – I like good defense.
Yes.
My favorite era of football was the back before they changed the rules. A lot of those 10-7 games that the Steelers used to win, the old Steel Curtain and the old Oakland Raiders and the Love You Blue Oilers. I mean, there was a lot of rock'em sock'em football back then. It was kind of low scoring, but I found it pretty exciting. And I kind of felt that what we saw on Monday night was kind of a throwback game in that respect. I mean, it was what you had. We had two really good defenses, which you knew going in, and they were on full display in that game. And I enjoyed it, and certainly enjoyed the outcome. I mean, to see the Eagles sitting where they are right now at 7-2, they're sitting in a pretty good spot.
Ray, let's start with defense because what Vic Fangio did was incredible when you consider you incorporated new pieces to the equation coming out of the bye. You held the Green Bay offense that was averaging almost 370 yards a game to under 300 yards. You got 3 quarterback sacks on Jordan Love. They deployed a two deep safety technique. They stayed with it the whole game, kept everything in front of them. They were committed to make sure Green Bay could not get anything deep on them, although I was surprised that Green Bay went to the running game as much as they did, especially in the first half when offenses really weren't doing much of anything.
Yeah, they did run it more than I thought. And, Jacobs, and we talked about this last week, Jacobs had not he was averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So they were a team that they hadn't run the ball all that successfully. I mean, he got in the end zone. He had some touchdowns. But on a down-to-down basis, they weren't dominating on the ground that much. But they certainly came out with the idea that they were going to run in this one. I think maybe it might have been because sometimes if you're an offense and the team's going to play the 2 deep safeties and they're going to play a lot of cover 2, one way you can kind of get them out of it is to run the ball. And if you can run it successfully, then you make them change, and then they start bringing a safety down, and you can create some of the opportunities down the field. We see that all the time. And I'm kind of guessing that's what Matt LaFleur was thinking. But the Eagles' run defense, which early in the year was not that great, we talked about that. It's gotten better. If you just look back over the last, I think like 3 games. Earlier in the season, they were giving up an average of 127 yards a game on the ground. In the last 3 games, I think, I guess with the last 2 games, not the first Giants game, but since then, it's been like 87. Like they've knocked that figure down by about 40 yards a game. So they're playing better run defense, and they didn't give the Packers. I mean, they certainly tried it, but they didn't. But the Packers didn't have a whole lot of success running the ball, and they were short on receivers. There's no question about that. They were missing some of their receivers, especially Kraft. And the Eagles had them bottled up pretty much the whole game. And you said it. I mean, the pressure they were able to get on Jordan Love really was the difference. I mean, they sacked him 3 times, but they were bothering him, and they were harassing him, and they were hurrying him pretty much the whole game. And that was the story. I mean, the Eagles really had that offense bottled up.
Ray, when you look at Fangio's defense the entire season, I mean, to be honest, there's no way this team is 7-2 without some of the plays, especially timely plays, this defense is made to bail them out time and time again. along the way. What has impressed you most about Vic Fangio's defense? And for me, it's been they're not I don't want to. I can't call them a stout defense. They're a good defense. They're not a stout defense, but they're an opportunistic defense, which has really turned the tides for them in a number of games this season.
Yeah, I think the thing that has stood out to me is the fact that they have been so good in the red zone.
Yep.
You know, teams have moved the ball on them, but when they get inside the 20, the Eagles shut them down and force them to kick field goals. And I think that's kind of what it's been, and that's kind of that's kind of the philosophy that Vic works under. Is, you know, I'll let you can move the ball, you get some first downs, but when you get inside the 20, you're not going to get in the end zone. And that has been the case. And, you know, that's won them some games. I mean, really, if you look at their overall statistics, where they rank overall offense, where they rank overall defense, those numbers don't usually equate to 7-2. No. I mean, they're kind of here because when they're on offense, they've been very good in the red zone. They've been very good scoring touchdowns. And defensively, they've been really good about keeping other teams out of the end zone. In those two critical areas, that's where they've played their best football.
Let's talk about a few of the pieces they've incorporated. And let's start with my man, Brandon Graham. We figured, we talked about this, we figured he was going to play maybe 10, 15 snaps per game, but no more than that. He played 10 snaps in his maiden voyage returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't have much of an impact, but here's where his impact really lies, Ray. Being there, talking these young guys through situations, giving them an ear, an extra ear in a lot of ways. I've said this time and time again, a lot of times players learn more from other players than they do coaches or watching film for that matter.
Absolutely. No question about that. And that's usually how good teams work. You know, I mean, the coaches and smart coaches know this, that the coaches talk all the time. And at a certain point, I don't want to say they tune the coach out.
Right.
Good coaches, you don't tune good coaches out. But sometimes you need that other voice, because the coaches will say what coaches are going to say. Yep. But when it's coming from the guy in the locker next to you, when it's coming from the 12-year vet across the room, when it's coming from one of those guys that you're actually strapping it on with every week, it resonates more. I think that's valuable, especially when you have a team. When you look at this team top to bottom, this really is a very young team.
Yes.
And it helps to have veteran players who are winners, who have had success, and are guys that are smart and know when to speak and what to say. And I think the Eagles, I mean, you get a guy like Lane Johnson, absolutely is like that. Going back a few years, Brian Dawkins was absolutely like that. And Brandon Graham, probably does it in a little more cheerful way. but the fact is, he is wise in the ways of football. Yeah. And he's played more games and more seasons than anybody that's ever worn that uniform. So having him in the locker room, to me, is nothing but a positive.
Everybody was hitting the rumor mill hard and heavy about the Eagles trying to get Myles Garrett from Cleveland. But kudos to Howie for getting, I think, in a lot of ways, just as good a choice in Jalen Phillips, a guy who already knows Fangio's defense. He comes in, his first game as an Eagle, has less than 2 weeks to get ready for this game. He plays 53% of the snaps. He has 6 tackles, a tackle for a loss, 2 quarterback hits. Man, and to play the run very well in Fangio's scheme Monday night as well. I have no problems with this addition. I mean, he gives you that presence off the edge you didn't have before. He gives you another stout body against the run. I think he's a perfect fit for what this Eagles team needs in this stretch run.
Yeah, I think so. And he made that, and that was pretty obvious in his very first game. I mean, what a difference he made. And on the other side, getting Nolan Smith back too, getting getting both of those guys with that high energy, high motor kind of play on the edge really made a difference. And after a third round pick, I mean, I'm not, third round pick ain't nothing. I mean, third round pick has value. Okay. And so you gave up something to get this guy, but I thought absolutely was worth a shot.
Yes.
I know what his injury history is. Everybody knows it at this point. Everybody knows it. But, I look back at, I remember when he came out in the 2021 draft. I remember really liking him. And in the time after they got him, I went back into my file cabinet here and pulled out my notes from the 2021 draft. In fact, I have them right here. And I didn't realize that when I look back at it, I had him as my number 2 edge rusher in that whole draft.
Wow.
My number 1 and my number 2 were both the defensive ends from Miami. It was Greg Rousseau and Jalen Phillips were my 2 top pass rushers. I thought he was that good then. Now, he came to Miami, not the best of situations, had injury issues, which he had before. But when he played very well. And interestingly enough, his best football he played the year he played under Vic Fangio. So that's why I thought bringing a guy in that has those kinds of skills and reuniting him with a coach with whom he's already had a lot of success, to me made perfect sense. And, when you saw his arrival in Philadelphia, when you saw the interview he did with John Clark down at the airport, as soon as he stepped off the plane, with Big Dom escorting him through the airport. You could see how excited he was to be here and to be on a team where he has a very realistic chance to get to a Super Bowl. And he was itching to go, and he brought it all on Monday night.
His exact quote in the locker room was, "This is the greatest day of my life." And, and when you hear that, you go, huh? This is the greatest day of your life. And then when you think about it, he was with the team in Miami that's going nowhere fast. And he comes to the defending Super Bowl champions that right now has the number 1 seed in the NFC. And just to hear him say that tells you how bad he wanted that get out of jail free card from Miami.
Yeah. And he played like it. We've seen guys come into town and they say all the right stuff about how excited they are and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it translates to the field and sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, it absolutely did. And getting him back, and as I said, Nolan Smith back, and BG for a certain number of snaps really made that defensive front look a whole lot better than it was before. And, that was a great one on Monday night, but they got to keep it going. Because they got the Lions and Jared Goff coming in this week, and then they got to go down to Dallas and face Dak Prescott the week after that. The road doesn't get any easier, but they certainly took care of business on Monday night. And, you look around, I had to look it up. When's the last time the Eagles scored 10 points in a game and won?
Oh, my goodness.
It's 2002, Derek.
Oh,
you got to go back. They played the St. Louis Rams and won a 10-3 game at the old vet. So you don't win scoring 10 points a game very often in today's NFL. But the Eagles were able to do that Monday night, and hats off to Vic Fangio's defense because they were the difference in this game.
A lot of times things that players accomplish are not measured by individual stats. And, the return of Nolan Smith, just the presence alone, giving additional pressure from the edge. He had a couple tackles. He had a quarterback sack. They used him on a couple of loops in the game to get additional pressure on Jordan Love. And here's another thing, a fresh body, had been out for a while with an injury, comes back, has an immediate impact in the game. And a lot of times you don't have to have an impact every down, just significant downs. And I thought he did that in that game against the Packers.
Yeah. John Ritchie, I was on with John Ritchie and Joe DeCamera earlier today. And Ritchie made the observation. He said, every time I see Nolan Smith, his body is parallel to the ground. He's like a missile. He's like a projectile.
Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. And if you have a family and kids at home like me, you always want them to be fully protected. That's why I'm thrilled to be a Simply Safe customer. And our house is equipped with the most technologically advanced alarm system you can get. If you could actually stop someone from breaking into your home before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Traditional security systems only react after a break-in. But Simply Safe is different because it stops crimes before they happen with Active Guard outdoor protection. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're still outside your home, and they alert real security agents. These agents take action while the intruder is still outside and confront the intruder to let them know they're being watched on camera and police is on the way. And that's how you stop a crime before it's committed. There's no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel anytime, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. Do not miss out on Simply Safe's biggest sale of the year, 60% off. Our listeners get 60% off a Simply Safe home security system at simplysafe.com/bird. That's simplysafe.com/bird.
That's a pretty good description because that is how he plays. And he was around a lot. He was very active, and all of a sudden now, I mean, the Eagles have a lot of healthy bodies on the defensive line, and they have a tremendous amount of depth and guys who can come in and get pressure on the quarterback. And sometimes I don't want to say sacks are overrated. I don't want to say that, but the raw sack number can sometimes be a little misleading. You get a couple sacks, okay. But what's more important is that in addition to that you have constant pressure, that you're always bothering the quarterback. You're moving him off the spot. You're hurrying him. You're not allowing him to see the whole field. You're making him get rid of the ball a little quicker than he wants to. And that's what the Eagles did to Jordan Love on Monday night. I mean, it looked to me, Derek, I don't think he was ever comfortable in the pocket. It looked like right from the first series that he felt hurried, he felt rushed. And when you saw the whole field, if you went back and you looked at the what they call the all 22, I mean, he had some receivers open. I mean, he had some opportunities, but he just didn't have the time to either find them, see them, or get them the ball. And that was just because the pressure was there on every snap, and then he started thinking about it, and it sped up his whole game. It sped up his decision making, and ultimately, he was never in the kind of groove that we have seen Jordan Love when he's comfortable and he starts getting in a real rhythm in the passing game. He's very good. But the Eagles never let him get there on Monday night, and that was really in the end what's the difference.
You can't put a price on what Nakobe Dean means to the middle of this defense.
Right. 7
tackles, a quarterback sack, but his pursuit to the ball, his ability to blow up plays in the middle at the line of scrimmage. He's not the biggest inside backer in there, but I tell you what, I don't know if many any tougher than he is. What a difference he makes in terms of taking away the middle, because a lot of teams were gouging the Eagles early on with middle runs, and he's taking away that. I mean, sometimes he's taking on two blockers at one time and stonewalling them, which disrupts the opponent's running play.
Yeah, he does, and getting him back has really helped. It has really helped. He's a really good tackler, really good open field tackler, extremely quick. And I mean, we were just talking a minute ago about how the Eagles' run defense has improved a lot lately. I mean, from the yardage they were giving up earlier in the season to what they're giving up now. And one of the big differences is having Nakobe Dean back on the field. I mean, he really makes that run defense better. And one of the things that was interesting about Monday's game was how often Vic used him as a blitzer. And how effectively. I mean, there were a lot of times that, you're getting that pressure off the edge, which was good to see. But a lot of times there's a little bit sometimes you see a delayed blitz or just your basic A-gap blitz where he would send Nakobe Dean up the middle and get real pressure on the quarterback. And, we always talk that, Vic doesn't want to blitz. He doesn't want to take a lot of chances, which is true. But when he picks his spots or when he sees an opportunity to get extra pressure on the quarterback, he'll do it. And Dean, going back to his days at Georgia, not that he was a full-time, all-out LT kind of pass rusher, because he's not. That's not his game. But when you use him as a blitzer selectively, he can be very effective, and he was effective again on Monday night.
Can you explain to me what we saw in terms of an offensive display on Monday night? Now, let's give credit where credit is due. As you mentioned off the top of this Birds Weekly podcast, Green Bay has a very good defense, a very young defense. As a matter of fact, they have the youngest defense and the youngest team. Correction, not the youngest defense, but the youngest team in the National Football League. A lot of youth on their defense, just like the Eagles do. Mm-hmm. But the Eagles, coming out of that bye week, well rested with a veteran offense that can put up points in a blink of an eye, they could hardly get anything going against this Packers defense. And it's some of the things that we've talked about all season long: the mental mistakes, the missed blocks, the holes not being there for Saquon and the running back crew, Jalen missing open receivers. It's like the offense has reversed instead of progressed in some ways.
Yeah, that's we were all asking that question after the last Giants game.
Yeah,
when they ran for 270 yards and offensively they were really clicking. Okay, after the bye, when they come back, is this the offense we're going to see moving forward? And, to me, this was going to be a really big test because the Green Bay defense is very good. I mean, they're fifth overall. They're fifth against the run. They're sixth on third down. They were eighth or ninth against the pass. I mean, if you look at that defense up and down and you try and say, okay, there's a weakness here, or there's a weakness there. Don't really have one. They are young, they are fast, and they are physical, and they can really cover on the back end. So what Jalen Hurts said in his press conference last week, going into the game, after having studied the tape on them, he said on numerous occasions, this is a very good defense, and they give you nothing, and they're going to be a real challenge. And that wasn't just lip service. I mean, what he said, that was what he saw, and that was what he faced on Monday night. They were a real challenge. And the Eagles up front didn't do a particularly good job. And Hurts was having trouble finding receivers a lot. And there didn't seem to be, once again, they were kind of back to what they were earlier in the season, which was having an offense that would hit a play here and hit a play there, but didn't establish any kind of real flow or continuity. And some of that was on them, but also some of it, you got to give some credit to the Green Bay defense because I do think they're that good.
Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up.
We were wondering after the Giants game, is the run game finally back after they put up 276 on the Giants? And I guess as we sit here for this podcast, we can say, no, it's not back. I mean, they ran up and down the field on a very much inferior opponent in the Giants. But against better competition, they could not impose their will. Now, overall, they ran for 111 yards, but Saquon, 22 carries and only 60 yards rushing. Yeah. His best play of the night was a 41-yard pass reception. We had put that spin move together. And I'm at a point now, Ray, when you think about some of the defenses they're about to face, Detroit's defense is no slouch. Chicago's defense has played well. And Buffalo's defense is not a bad defense as well. I'm inclined to get Saquon the ball in open space on a swing pass, screen pass, middle screen, wheel route, as much as I am in terms of giving him the ball in the backfield now.
Yeah, I think so too. The little flat pass, the 41-yarder, was maybe the biggest play in the game. That's you needed something like that, and I think the Eagles came to the conclusion they weren't going to get it in the running game because it just wasn't there. So they created it in the passing game. And, that 41-yarder gets them down into a position where on the next play, they hit the bomb to Smith and they finally get it in the end zone. But, one of the interesting things about, say, this season for Barkley compared to last season is it's kind of the reverse in the sense that if you looked at Barkley last year, we all know 2,000 yards and all the things he accomplished. Sure. There was a pattern that was very consistent from week to week was his yardage. He got more yardage as the game went along. His best quarters in terms of running the ball were he started out 1, it got better in 2, then the second half, third quarter was good, and then the fourth quarter was his best. His running game got better as the game went along. And this year it's been the opposite. And this year his best quarter running the ball is the first quarter, and that was true in this game too. I think he had like 6 carries for 28 yards in the first quarter, which isn't great, but it's pretty good. But then from that point on, he barely averaged 2 yards a carry. So it's kind of the reverse of what we saw last year. And obviously on a week-to-week basis, nowhere near as productive as it was a year ago. And, some of that, the offense is it's sputtering, the Giants game that was the exception. What we saw on Monday night has been the rule. And, that's the one area moving forward now that worries you a little bit is that the offense from week to week, it can be really good at times, but there are other times when, again, this was a game where we had, 3 3-and-outs. They had a couple of 4-and-outs. And they don't have that kind of 4-quarter continuity of offensive dominance that we saw routinely last year. And that's one of the things that if they really are going to take this thing all the way and get back to the championship game, they're going to have to be better at that. And one of the things that I think they have to do, Derek, is they commit too many penalties.
Yes.
They do. They're in terms of penalty yardage per game. The Eagles are one of the worst in the league. There are only 5 teams in the league that give up more yards per game via penalty. And a lot of that, it takes away some big positive gains. One of Barkley's best runs was wiped out by a Brett Toth penalty.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and look how many times, and I wrote this down. 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15. Nobody's going to convert a whole lot of those situations, but because of some poor execution at times, but also just some dumb penalties, put them in those situations that really, really does sort of handcuff the offense.
I think it's clear cut that Devontae Smith is the number 1 receiver on this team right now. He had 4 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. Beautiful 36-yard snag for a score. I just every week, Ray, I'm just so impressed with his route running ability, his route running in terms of deceiving a defensive back. You don't see him drop passes for a guy as rail thin as he is. He doesn't drop passes. He goes up and wins the majority of his contested passes. He is everything you want in terms of that sure-handed go-to guy who's not afraid to take the big hit and will constantly make the big play for you.
Yeah, he does week after week after week. You're right. He is so good at the top of the route.
Yeah.
When he gets up to the route, when he makes that break, whether he's taking it across the middle or whether he's coming back to the quarterback, at the top of the route, he always gets separation. And if the ball's delivered on time, he will always make the catch. And the touchdown catch, of course, is the big one. That's one everybody remembers. And it was a great catch. Mm-hmm. He uses his body so well. The way he gets up and the way he turns his body and gets in between the defender and the ball, he does that all the time. He does that as good as anybody, I think. But the other stuff, the out routes and things like that, the possession catches, he gets you those week after week after week. And, the 15, 16-yard catch that he made on 3rd and 12 late in the game allowed you to extend that possession and was a very big play in the game. And there were a couple of other times when he ran a great route, a couple of outs, where he had the separation and Hurts just underthrew the ball. But he was there and he could have made the catch.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, on a night when yards and points were hard to come by, and you had to fight for every bloody inch, and that's what this game was. I mean, time after time, when you needed a big play, he came up with it.
Now for the other guy who wants to be more involved in the offense, A.J. Brown. And Ray, I'm starting to feel his frustration. I mean, 2 catches, 13 yards. Now, to his credit, after the game, he stood at his locker, answered all the questions, and the one thing he said was Green Bay did a good job of taking me out of the game. But for the life of me, Ray, for a receiver that size, who's bigger than most DBs he will face, the fact that they don't use him more in the slant routes, I mean, that's his bread and butter play. The fact that they don't use him more in the slant routes, because even if a DB comes up, first of all, he commands the utmost respect from DBs because they're playing 7 to 10 yards off of him more times than not. He sticks his foot in the ground, he's got the battle won right there, because if DB comes up, he's either going to make the catch or it's going to be a pass interference. He can win that battle all day, every game. But they've got no – I don't know what Kevin Patullo's thinking in terms of why, when other elements of your game are stagnant, why don't you go to your sure play? That's a sure money play that a lot of teams don't convert in the National Football League.
It does seem that way. His frustration is palpable and kind of understandable, because there's no real reason why a guy with his talent should have finished a game with 2 catches for 7 yards. I mean, that's something that they have to address, and not for the reasons of keeping him happy, right, and not for the reasons of just getting him off social media and any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't make sense, is to get him the ball more. And you see the way teams cover him, and you just said that the cushion they give him. I understand that if you try to press this guy, if you try to jam him, he's too big and strong.
Yes.
I mean, so teams will just try to keep him in front of you. So to me, that 6-7 yard area, it's there, and take advantage of it. Get him the hitch route, get him the ball, and let him get yards after the catch, which we know he can do. I really kind of thought when the Eagles made this sort of philosophical change about putting the quarterback more under center, which I do think has helped. One of the things it does, it creates the opportunity for more play action passes. Mm-hmm. And a play action pass, which will create a timing element in the offense, is made to throw those kinds. Yeah, it's made to hit big plays down the field, but it also will get you the slant coming across the middle. And if you execute the fake properly, it'll get the linebackers out of play and open that middle of the field up. And so I kind of thought when they began writing more of the quarterback under center play action stuff into the offense, that was one really good way to get the ball to AJ and to give him the kinds of opportunities to be the playmaker that he was earlier in his career here. I still think that's there. I still think they can do that.
Yes.
But they just haven't gone to it yet. Now, maybe some of it just had to do with what Hurts was talking about, was the fact that the Green Bay defense is really good. And I do think that they made it difficult to get the ball to AJ. But moving forward, we're getting into that stretch run now. And you're going to have to start seeing the full dimension of your offense and the things that there are certain things we can establish, there's certain things we can do, and there's certain things that seem to be in place. That's good. But there are some other things that we need to develop and get better at. Mm-hmm. And one of them is getting the ball to number 11.
Can you explain to me what in the world was Nick Sirianni thinking on that late drive? All you had to do was run the ball. Run the ball. Even if you don't get the first down, run the ball. Keep the clock moving. He throws 2 passes, incomplete, stops the clock. And then he goes deep to AJ. And incomplete, stops the clock. And we're thinking, if you run the football, even if you don't get the first down, and Pooch punted down the field. Green Bay has less than 10, 12 seconds to try to do anything. But lo and behold, you played right into their hands and gave them an opportunity. They moved the ball upfield. Of course, McManus shanks a 64-yard field goal try. But why would you put your team in that situation, especially in a 3-point game? Now, he said in his press conference, he was thinking in terms of getting a little bit closer to get 3 points and force Green Bay to score a touchdown. But, okay, if it had worked in your favor, you're a genius. And I don't know if the analytics call for what you did for those series of downs, but man, that could have blown up in your face big time.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Everybody focused on the go route to AJ. That last play. Everybody kind of focused on that. And what in the world was he thinking? Yes, of course, we were all thinking that. But before that, on the previous possession, you're right. I mean, he throws the ball, throws 2 incomplete passes that stops the clock there. After you've had Barkley run, Barkley run. Barkley runs for a first down. You had like a 3rd and 2, and Barkley gets you 4 and keeps the clock running. And at that point, I figured, well, this game's salted away now. The Eagles, if they got the clock moving, they got the first down, and just run it out. Make Green Bay use up all their timeouts, and you just take this thing and tuck it in your pocket and go home. And then all of a sudden, incomplete pass, and then you punt the ball away. What was that? I mean, yeah, the long pass, the 4th down decision to go for it on 4th down, and you throw that low percentage ball down the field. I mean, I still don't. I mean, I've heard Nick's explanation for it. Still makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. But nobody was talking about the previous possession where you got the clock running, you're running the ball, you just run for a first down, and now you're going to throw 2 passes and incomplete, stop the clock. The clock management there and the play calling there is, I can't explain it. It was. Look, give him credit. Give him credit for winning the game. Okay, it's hard to, you look, Derrick. I mean, you look at his numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of games that he's won. I mean, his winning percentage. The fact that this year, if you look at this year, they've gone into Arrowhead and beaten the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They went down to Tampa, which is not an easy place to play, and they beat the Bucs. Here you go to Lambeau, and you beat a good Packer team. I mean, those are 3 tough places to play, and they went into all 3 of them and won. And listen, you got to give him all the credit in the world for being 3-0 in those 3 venues. That ain't easy to do, and I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. But the situations we're talking about, what they refer to situation football.
Hey, I still like a good night out, but I'm not always in the mood to drink, and that's why I looked for a great alternative, and I found one. It's called Soul's Out of Office Gummies. You get the same light, happy buzz, but you don't have the hangover. There's no sugar, and you don't get that awkward feeling the next morning. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or the next day fog. Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance your creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe. From a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. They've also got a variety of products specifically designed to help you get a better night's rest, including Soul's top selling sleep gummy, a fan favorite for deep restorative sleep. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. Right now, Soul is offering our audience 30% off your entire order. So go to getsoul.com and use the code BIRDS, BIRDS. That's getsoul.com, promo code BIRDS for 30% off.
I mean, sometimes he still makes decisions that just are baffling to me. And that decision on the 4th down to go for it and not punt and make them play the long field, but to throw a pass and give them the ball at the 36-yard line, to me, it made no sense.
Now, I want to let you in on a little secret. I want to hear your response to this. Okay, so after the game, Devontae Smith was asked about that play. He said, number 1 and number 11 call that play, and what they want, they get, and we just roll with it. And then I dug a little bit deeper and found out that particular play was supposed to be a slant route, which was wide open. But Jalen and AJ supposedly changed the play. And if you remember, after that play, they got an ISO shot of Sirianni on the sideline screaming, why? And it goes back to Jalen being indecisive at times and making, I don't want to say more wrong decisions than right, because there are times when he makes the perfect decision, whether he has to run the football or hits the right receiver. His numbers are not going to be gaudy numbers, but they're effective numbers in a lot of ways. But in that particular instance, if a play was called and those two change it in the huddle, we might have a problem down the road, Ray.
I agree. If that's how it really went down, and it's like a spur in the moment in the huddle adjustment that's made, that's not good. It's not good. But but to dial it back even more, just the decision to go for it on fourth down is to me nutty. I mean, just let's what happens in the huddle and the adjustment, that's another discussion. But just the basic point of that situation, time on the clock, you got the ball fourth down. Your defense has been playing their fannies off this whole game. Good. Let's punt it down there. Let's pooch it down there, get it inside the 15, get it around the 10 or whatever, and make them, with no timeouts, just try to drive the length of the field. That's the easy part of it. But once you make a decision, okay, now we're going to go for it, and now you're in a discussion of, okay, we could run this or we could run this. You shouldn't be running anything. You just do the smart thing, do the easy, simple thing, do the percentage thing. Somebody was saying, was this decision an analytics-driven decision? Is this analytics? No, analytics. I don't agree with a whole lot of analytics, but even analytics doesn't come up with something that stupid in that situation. I hate to sound like Mr. Old School Football. I hate to sound like Chuck Knox or Marty Schottenheimer or something. But in that situation, just punt the ball. On a night when your defense is totally dominating the game, just punt the ball and make them play the long field. I mean, it might seem like that's out of an old school textbook, but sometimes the old school textbook is what wins games for you.
Well, here we sit, Ray, perplexed at the play calling and decision making in this game. And yet we're just as perplexed at how this team has arrived at a 7-2 record at this point and leading the NFC as the number one seed as we sit here right now. But up next is another formidable opponent in the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to tell you something. They ain't scoring 10 points and winning that game against Detroit. I don't care if it is at Lincoln Financial Field. But until that game is played, for Ray Didinger, I'm Derrick Gunn. We will be right back here after the Eagles take on the high-powered Detroit Lions at Lincoln Financial Field. So until then, so long, everybody.